I think we all can think of a story, a personal story of people who are selfless and people who sacrifice very much. We think of the husband or the wife that stands beside their spouse while their spouse is going through cancer, or parents who give their all for their children and sacrifice very much of themselves for their children, and people who believed in others even when most gave up on them. I think we can all think of stories, whether they're very personal or within our world. We can all think of those stories. Every 4 years, there's the Olympics come on, and I love the Olympics, both the summer and the winter Olympics. And whenever it comes on, I'm glued to the TV. And the Olympics are all about personal achievements and human excellence. But it's also about that Olympic spirit. Olympic spirit is talked about a lot. And every single time the Olympics comes around, there's always one story that shines out about human excellence, of people and kindness, and that what they call the Olympic spirit. In Rio in 2016, there was a distance run of 5,000 meters, and you may remember this story. And there were two runners in particular, one from New Zealand named Nikki, and one from the U.S. named Abby. And they were running their 5,000-meter run, and they only had 4 laps to go. And they collided. And what happened was Nikki was bunching into the other runners, and she lost her footing and fell, which made Abby fall on top of her. And she just could not avoid the fall, and they both collided. And it was Abby who got up immediately, jumped right up. And you know what? She had the right to keep on running. She had the right to be able to try to do her own personal best in that run. But she didn't. She saw that Nikki was on the ground and that she wasn't getting up. And she picked her up, pulled her up, and they began to run together. And it was then that Abby actually was in pain, actually. Her leg was in pain and because of the fall, and she repeatedly fell on the track. And that's when Nikki actually repaid that kind gesture and ran the rest of the way with her. And they ended up last in the entire race. The race, Olympic glory, all those endeavors that they had, that was all forgotten. And after the race, they embraced each other. And Abby was later taken away in a wheelchair for treatment. And Nikki recalled after the Olympics, and she recalled that kind gesture and said, "When I was down, I didn't know what was happening. Why am I on the ground?" And suddenly there was a hand on my shoulder saying, get up. We have to finish this." And I'm so grateful for Abby for doing that for me. That girl is the Olympic spirit right there. And I've never met her before. Isn't that amazing? And then Nikki shared again about how Abby helped her. And she says, "I'm not going to remember where I finished. I'm not going to remember my time, but I'll always remember that moment. Sometimes, I guess, you have to remember trying to be a good human being is more. If I hadn't waited for her or tried to help her, I would have been 10 or 15 seconds quicker. But that didn't matter." And I absolutely love that story. I love that story. And as I said, every single Olympics, there is one story that shines out like that, about Olympic spirit. And in our gospel today, we see that James and John get caught up in thinking about the glory that will come from following Jesus. And Jesus' response is actually very interesting. It's not one of ridicule. He didn't say, "Oh, James and John, my foolish disciples, don't you realize?" He didn't say that. He responds with love, but also with a firmness. that if you want to follow me, realize that you will have to drink the cup that I will drink, which means his passion. Yeah, they have to share in his passion, his death, and also his resurrection. There will be suffering, brothers and sisters. Jesus doesn't say, follow me, then I will eventually show you how to carry the cross. No, he says, he puts it in the right perspective. Take up your cross, then follow me. And we have to have that right mindset, the understanding that we don't do it for the glory, but to walk with Christ and to walk with others who are carrying their cross as well. Brothers and sisters, we all have our cross to carry. And the fact is that we don't have to carry it on our own either. On the way to Calvary, even Jesus had someone to help carry his cross, Simon of Cyrene. And so we have to realize that as we're carrying our own cross, we have to realize that we can ask for help. We can have others help us along on our journey. Abby and Nikki were seeking Olympic glory at first, but when the time came to help another person and to be a servant, they stepped up to the plate and showed us an example of what it means to be a servant and to put sacrifice in front of glory. So let us pray for the grace to be able to take up our crosses and to follow Christ, becoming a servant for others rather than seeking glory.